turns out. Rigged election, he knows about rigged elections better than anybody. But when I was in exile, we were still friends. That's always a good way to find out, test of friendship. But he's a highly respected man. He's respected very much in his country and all throughout Europe and throughout the world where they know him. He's built a tremendous military, powerful military, uses a lot of our equipment. And it's an honor to have him at the White House. We're going to have a lunch together. We're going to have a discussion, big discussion. We do a lot of trade with Turkey, and we're going to continue. We're going to do some additional trade. They want to buy F-16s, F-35s, and some other things, and we're going to talk to them about that. And we're just going to have, I think, a very interesting couple of hours. We're going to get a lot done. But I have great respect for this man, and we've had a very good relationship for a long time. If you remember, he led Pastor Brunson. He freed Pastor Brunson. Pastor Brunson was put in jail for 35 years before I got there. This was a group that should have stopped it. And the president, after I called him, released him, which was a great thing for our Christian community, our evangelical community. The evangelicals really wanted that. It was very important to him. So I always, the president of Turkey with us. And how are you?
Fine.
Say a few words.
And you?
Great guy.
Öncelikle bu ziyaretimizi Birleşmiş Milletler Genel Kurulu'yla iç içe olan bir dönemde gerçekleştirdiğimizden dolayı arkadaşlarımla beraber çok mutluyuz. Gerek Sayın Trump'ın birinci döneminde gerekse ikinci dönemde Türkiye-Amerika ilişkilerinde farklı bir süreci yaşıyoruz. Kendilerinin de az önce ifade ettiği gibi gerek F-35 konusu, gerek F-16 konusu, gerekse Halk Bankası'yla ilgili aramızdaki ilişkiler konusunu bugün etraflıca görüşme fırsatı bulacağımıza inanıyorum. Heybeliada okuluyla ilgili ise orada üzerimize ne düşerse biz onu zaten yapmaya hazırız. Dönünce de Sayın Bartolomeo'yla bu konuyu görüşme fırsatı bulacağım.
First, Mr. President, I am very pleased that this visit actually coincides with the 80th UNGA. So I am very pleased to be here with my colleagues and friends. And as we have said, during the first term of your presidency and during your second term, we are able to carry Turkey and U.S. relations to a much different level and process. And as you've said, we have an opportunity here today to be able to discuss some of the issues regarding the F-35, the F-16, and also the Halkbank case. And we will have an opportunity to thoroughly discuss them. And based on what you have mentioned regarding the Heybeliada school, we are ready to do whatever we can that falls on our part. And I will, when I get back, try to discuss this issue with the esteemed Mr. Bartholomos to discuss how we can move forward on that.
Okay, very good. I would like to be able to do that. The Greek Orthodox Church was here, and they would really like to have some help. They need some help, and I said I'd mention it. We appreciate it. So this is a tough man. This is a guy who's highly opinionated. Usually I don't like opinionated people, but I always like this one. But he's a tough one. And he does an amazing job in his country. And we've had tremendous relationships, both having to do with war and having to do with trade. And I guess today we're talking about both. I'd like to have him stop buying any oil from Russia while Russia continues his rampage against Ukraine. And they've been fighting. They've lost millions of lives already. And for what? For what? It's disgraceful. And I said yesterday, let it keep going because their economy is absolutely terrible right now. And I think it's a shame that they're doing that, killing a lot of people unnecessarily. 7,818 people were killed last week, mostly military people, their people and Ukrainians. More Russians actually than Ukraine, a little bit more. but it's such a waste of human life. And so he ought to stop. Putin ought to stop. And with that, we'll get to a little bit of a discussion. We're going to make some great trade deals for both countries. We do a lot of business with Turkey. They build great products. They build beautiful, great products, really fantastic manufacturers. And we buy a lot from them and they buy a lot from us. Would you have any questions, please?
Repeatedly called out Obama and Biden administrations for their stupid decisions. One example you gave was refusal to sell the Patriot missile defense systems to Turkey, which resulted in the expulsion of the country from the F-35 program. Now, you are known to be a great deal maker in Turkey. What can you do to undo this stupidity? Yes, CNN.
CNN? Well, because you sounded like a nice guy, but CNN is fake news. But you sound like the real deal to me, so I'll answer the question. We're going to be discussing the Patriot system, which is the best system. We'll discuss that. We're going to discuss the F-35. We'll be discussing all of the things that you know about and that some of that you mentioned. And I think he'll be successful with buying the things he'd like to buy.
What concrete steps can you take?
Well, we'll have to see. We haven't even started yet. But I know he wants the F-35, and he's wanted that, and we're talking about that very seriously. And the F-16, we're in great shape. Certain other things he needed, as you know, and I'm going to see to it that we get that to him. He needs certain things, and we need certain things. Conclusion, you'll know by the end of the day. Go ahead, please.
Mr. President.
All right, so here's the gist of what went down. Trump is answering a bunch of questions from Turkish reporters. He talks about possibly lifting sanctions on Turkey, tariffs, and NATO spending. He keeps stressing that under him, NATO countries went from paying 2% to 5% of their GDP, which he frames as trillions of dollars, going into U.S. defense sales. On Ukraine, Trump says the war wouldn't have happened if he were president. Classic Trump line. On Gaza and Palestine, he says he wants hostages released all at once, not slowly, and hints that he's working on a deal with Middle Eastern leaders like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, and Jordan. He also says he'll need to pressure Israel directly. On Turkey's military, he confirms fighter jets and missile defense talks are happening, and he praises Erdogan as someone he can work with. Main point, Trump is positioning himself as the deal maker, claiming credit for NATO spending, saying wars wouldn't have started under his watch, and promising to get hostages released and peace talks moving. He's keeping Erdogan close, while making himself look like the guy with the solutions. Okay, let's be real. Trump was in full salesman mode here. Every answer came back to, if I were president, this wouldn't be happening. He's like the guy at a reunion saying, remember when everything worked better when I was in charge? What caught me off guard was how casually he threw out numbers. 20 hostages alive, 38 dead. That's heavy stuff, and he said it almost like he was giving sports stats. Also, him flexing NATO's spending jump? You could tell he wanted the credit stamped with his name in bold letters. Here's something to take away. International politics isn't just about big speeches. It's also about negotiation leverage. Trump's style shows that confidence and repetition can frame a narrative, but the real test is follow-through. For us every day. Hi folks, it's a reminder. Don't just listen to the hype. Pay attention to what actually gets done. So, fam, what do you think? Do you buy Trump's claim that wars wouldn't have happened if he was still president? Or is that just campaign talk? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I really want to hear your take. And hey, don't forget to smash that like button, hit subscribe, and ring the bell for more sharp, unfiltered reactions right here on my shock filer.
Gave $350 billion. Look, this war would have never started if I were president. If I were president, this war would never be happened. Would have never happened. Yeah.
Mr. President, I would like to ask about Gaza. Are you on the same page, Mr. Erdogan, for Palestine, Israel?
Well, I don't know his stance. I can't tell you about that. I just say that we want to get Gaza over with. I had a great meeting with the leaders of that area, of that region, generally speaking, the Middle East. We had a great meeting the other day at UNGA, as you know, and I think we're close to getting some kind of a deal done. Yeah, we want to get the hostages back. I have to get the hostages back. We're the ones that got the hostages, all of them that we have now. But it looks like there are 20 living hostages and probably 38 or so dead hostages. Pretty sad. And the parents of those dead souls, those dead, mostly men, boys, in many cases like literally boys, they want those bodies back so badly, as much as though they were alive. And so we had a very good meeting with the representatives of the most powerful countries in the Middle East, and I think we're going to be close to a deal.
We've noticed that in the Ukrainian war and during the Israeli-Iran war, the airspace of the NATO countries is very fragile, and it needs to be stronger. And in that sense, Turkey being the second largest army in NATO, it needs to support its air force and air defense. How do you look at this issue in general as a NATO?
Well, we support them. I mean, we're in NATO, and you know they're paying now 5% of GDP. Nobody thought that was possible, and they agreed to that 6 months ago when I was there. And the relationship is very good. The NATO countries are. I mean,
So here's what went down, folks. Trump kicks things off talking about his friendship with Erdogan, praising him as a tough, respected leader. He reminds everyone about Pastor Brunson being released, and says that meant a lot to the evangelical community. He also mentions trade deals, fighter jets, F-16s, F-35s, and even asks Turkey to stop buying oil from Russia. Classic Trump, mix of praise, business talk, and a little pressure on foreign policy. Erdogan responds politely, saying the U.S. and Turkey have built stronger ties during Trump's time, and that they'll discuss weapons systems and even religious matters like the Greek Orthodox Church. He's basically agreeing to cooperate on certain issues while protecting Turkey's interests. Then the QA happens. Reporters ask about Patriot missiles, F-35s, and Trump uses the chance to jab CNN but still answers, saying deals are being discussed. Main point. Both leaders are flexing friendship while negotiating hard on military and trade deals. Trump pushes his peace and trade agenda, while Erdogan stays diplomatic and focused on Turkey's needs. Okay, wow, there's a lot here. First off, Trump really went heavy on the compliments, almost like a salesman hyping up his client before pitching jets. And Erdogan? Smooth, calm, like he's saying, yes, we'll talk, but Turkey's got its own game plan. What stood out to me was Trump calling Erdogan opinionated, but saying he likes him anyway. That's Trump speak for, we don't always agree, but I can do business with this guy. Also, Trump dropping numbers of casualties in Ukraine mid-speech. That was heavy and kind of jarring in tone. For us watching, this shows how much of international politics is a mix of personal relationships and hard deals. Leaders can praise each other publicly while quietly pushing their own agendas. The lesson? Even in tough negotiations, respect and tone matter. All right, fam. What do you think? Was Trump being genuine with all that praise, or was it just strategy to close the deals? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to read them all. And don't forget, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss more reactions right here on my Shock Filer.